Okay, guys. So I know we had a long discussion last night about my failed check ride and the problems that I had with the Garmin 175. Um, I spent some time today trying to figure out how to do the various things in a quick and consistent way to ensure that these issues don't happen in the future. And since the 175 is only in the 05 Quebec in our club, I figured I'd make a couple recordings over it. So this first one, I'm just going to recreate the situation that I was given that really started my downfall on my check ride, which honestly, now that I've spent some time looking at it, is a very simple process, and I feel slightly embarrassed. But hey, I'm just going to share the information I have and uh, treat it as a learned experience and move forward from it. So I am using the Garmin 175 Learning app on my iPad. So it's pretty close to the real thing. Obviously, I can't connect to it with ForeFlight, but honestly, now that I've played with it some more, I'm okay with that. That way, if my EFB gets failed or something of that nature, I can do things directly into the Garmin. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you some basic setup on it. So we're going to power it up, maybe. Just notice it tells you that it's for demo mode only. Okay. Obviously, this database is a little expired, but in the real plane, you'll need to check those. I think that unit was saying it actually expires on November 30th, so it'll need to be updated before the next check ride. Then you'll look for your deflection, half left, half up on the top needle in 05 Quebec. And then you go to this screen. Okay, so this button is not obviously on the real unit. The demo button is not. And if you go into this message, it's flashing. It just tells you demo mode, not for use in navigation. Okay, so this demo button is not there on the real unit. So what is it here for? Well, it's to set up your initial position, airspeed, your track mode, which I just use manual, of your airplane. So I'm going to actually fly the route. I'm going to read y'all's my clearance here in a little bit. And I may go back and edit the video to type it over, but we were taking off from KSUZ, so I'm going to put that in as the location of my airplane. I'm going to have it start on the ground, so 0 knots, 0 feet altitude, and I'm going to set it for a runway 02 departure. Okay, so that should put my plane, if I go back to the map, you'll see my plane is setting at KSUZ, and it's on a 020 heading, which is north. Okay, so my clearance that was given on the ramp, and I should have taken the time to put this in before I ever left the ground, but lesson learned. I'd kind of gotten confused on trying to do OBS mode and all that, but really it's not required on this particular clearance. Now we'll get into some radials maybe later that it might be required, but we'll talk about your options on that in a follow-up video. So the clearance that I was given was 05 Quebec, cleared to Hot Springs Airport, climb out on runway heading to 3000. When entering controlled airspace, turn right to heading 200, intercept the Victor 54 airway to Caney to hot, then as filed, which is basically just Hot Springs. My file was KSUZ to Hot Springs direct, or to hot and then to Hot Springs. Expect 4,000 in 10 minutes. Contact Little Rock departure on 119.5, squawk 1200. So that was my clearance with my notation there about what was filed. Okay, so now we've got that. We've written it down. We've read it back correctly, which I didn't do. Didn't read it back correctly. I read it back, but the mistake wasn't caught by myself. Basically, I didn't read back a heading. I don't believe the 200 heading, and because I didn't write, I went back and looked at my sheet and it wasn't written down, and I expectation bias flew 020 heading beyond controlled airspace. Okay, but water under the bridge. Let's move forward. Okay, so how are we going to put this flight plan into it? Well, we don't have a direct to because we're turning to a heading of 200 and intercepting a Victor airway. Well, you can just use the VOR and tune that in. But if you want to do it on the GPS, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to hit back and you're going to go into flight plan. Okay, we want to delete anything that's in there. I don't even know why KLIT is in there, but we're going to delete it, delete all waypoints. We're going to make sure nothing's in the direct to over here. Because just because you delete those waypoints in the direct to, if you had a direct to over here, it remains. Even though you delete all these waypoints, that was messing me up in the plane yesterday. I didn't know, I couldn't figure out why, when I delete all my waypoints, that I was still showing a pink line to a location that was not even in my waypoint list. And it was because you have to delete the direct to if you have one in there separately. So let's just let's put one in there real quick. So I'm going to activate it, and you see I'm going KSU to Z to KSU Z. It doesn't really matter, but I want to show you this. So if I go in and I go into, hopefully it doesn't make a liar out of me. See, that direct to is still in there. Can't really see it, so let me choose a different direct to. Let me do to Malvern, Mike 78. Okay, so you see that pink line there from KSUZ? That's our direct to track. Y'all know that. But if I go into my flight plan, it's not in waypoints. Okay. So if I delete all my waypoints, it doesn't matter. That direct to is still over there. So I can start adding waypoints, and guess what? This direct to is still active. Now, if you know all this and you're thinking Anthony's stupid, you're probably right. But these are things I learned, so I'm sharing them. So if you want to get rid of that, if you want to have a clear unit, you have to not only delete all your waypoints, but you have to go into your direct to. So here, I just go to direct to, and then I remove it. And you'll see that I no longer have anything in direct to over there. Okay, so now let's go back to our clearance. We're going to climb out on runway heading, which we're taking off from 02 to 3000. When entering controlled airspace, turn right to 200. So, and then intercept the Victor 54 runway. So really, our first point, we're going to start climbing out when we hit 700 plus our airport elevation, 700 AGL. So when we hit roughly 1100, 1200, right in that range, it doesn't have to be right on the dot, but right in that range, we're going to turn to 200. It needs to be, doesn't need to be before, but it needs to be, as we're entering controlled airspace. So they didn't give us a specific altitude, but as we're entering controlled airspace. Okay, so anyway, so this is how I found the best way to do this. So I'm going to add a waypoint, and the airway, if you go look at ForeFlight or you look at your low en route chart, the airway is off the LIT VOR. Okay. And then what did they say? To Caney, right? Or what did our clearance give us? To Caney. Then to hot. And then to the Hot Springs Airport. We were cleared to Hot Springs Airport. I'm going to go ahead and put it in, even though I know I'm going to have to load a procedure later. That way it's in there. Okay, so now we've got our flight plan in there that we've received clearance for. Okay, very quick to put in there. But we don't have that Victor 54 airway. So I'm going to go up here to the Little Rock VOR, click on it, load airway. It gives me the airways, and then it's going to ask me, basically, where am I going to fly that airway to? Well, I'm going to fly it to Caney. So airway 54, exit point Caney. I can preview it if I want, but this is what I want. So I'm going to load it. Okay, so my first leg now is LIT to BOD. Okay, so let's go back to our map. Here's our plane. You see our airways coming from LIT. Let me zoom it out some. Well, let me find the right dial. Okay, so you see the airways coming from LIT to BOD. Okay, it doesn't really matter if I end up intercepting above or closer to LIT from BOD or farther away. The system is still going to track me to intercept that Victor airway. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. So okay, now how do you fly this plane, and how do you simulate what's going to happen on this plane? Okay, so I'm got my altitude here, my indicated airspeed, and my heading here. So I'm going to start rolling out. I'm going to full power it, and I'm going to say my indicated airspeed will climb to 120. Actually, we're going to put some boost in this to do it a little faster. We'll say 150. Okay, so we are at 68 knots. We're well past rotation speed, so I'm going to start pulling our altitude up. Now, it doesn't show our altitude on here, but it still slowly climbs. Even though I put 1300 in there, because we're moving doesn't mean we're automatically at 1300. But I'm going to go ahead and the clearance told us to what? Climb to 3000, but when entering airspace, right? Okay, when entering controlled airspace, then turn right to heading 200. Okay, so I'm going to, you really can't tell what your altitude is on here, at least I'll look for it later, but you see as these towers are turning from red to yellow, I'm going to wait for them all to turn yellow, which means I'm above them before I start turning to 200. And I'll assume that that is, okay, so they all turn yellow around here. So I'm going to start adjusting my heading, turning right. And this is kind of a speed-based system. So if you like just dump 200 in there real quick, it's going to turn real quick. If you kind of do what I'm doing and just kind of build it up, it does more of a standard rate turn, though you can't 100%. You know, you don't have a way 100% to judge that because we don't have a turn coordinator. But I can keep just tapping that, and you see my heading up top keeps increasing, and my plane's turning on the map. And heading 200, and it will continue to turn, and it will climb to 3,000. Okay, I may speed this up some in post-production. So if it jumps, understand that's what I've done, just so you don't have to sit here and watch this plane fly across a map. I'll tell you one thing this experience has taught me is I'm ready to get into a plane with autopilot, because I kind of think of this system. I've never flown one with autopilot, but I'm kind of thinking that this is very similar, where I put in a heading and I put in altitude and I put in a speed. You know, I know that our planes aren't exactly that complex, but I think we have heading hold and altitude hold on the arrow, and I think I don't know, 15 Quebec. It's got one or the other. I don't remember. I haven't flown, like I said, I haven't flown any of the autopilots yet. But if this is how it works, I'm looking forward to it. The other thing you can do if you're doing this in real life, I don't really suggest it because your timing on your turns will get way off, because y'all know the faster you go, the wider your arc of your turn. But you can jump your indicated airspeed all the way up to 999. But you see how I'm at 460 and it's just building up? That's the problem. It doesn't do it instantly. So if you adjust it and see, I'm even adjusting it back down, back to the 150 range, and it takes a little bit to get there. Okay, so once you get within so many miles of the intercept, okay, you'll see that arrow coming in. Now, some of y'all may be saying, well, you're intercepting BOD. Well, I am, but that's just by accident. I'm gonna say that the wind's blowing me and I didn't realize it. And I'm going to change my heading more to like 210, because see, my active leg is this leg between Little Rock and BOD, LIT and BOD. And I want you to see what happens if I actually fly to the non-active leg now that I've activated this Victor Airway. You see, I'm still flying to that non-active leg. I'm not flying to the active, or I'm now flying to that non-active leg. I'm not flying to BOD. I didn't realize the demo had traffic on it. That's interesting. I wonder if that's actual live traffic or if they're just simulating that. Okay, so we now have this turn to, or that we're arriving at DTK 235 in 1 second. Okay, so and that we need to turn to that heading. So I should have been turning a little bit ago, but believe it or not, this system, it's hard to do standard rate turns on. So I will probably be able to judge it pretty closely to get that needle centered. Actually, I still turned a little too early. If you're in the plane, you should roll into a standard rate turn as soon as that counter shows now. So don't do it before, don't do it, after. Roll into a standard rate turn, and because it's calculating based on your airspeed what your standard rate turn. The weird thing about this is it doesn't. There's no real way to tell a standard rate turn whether you're doing a standard rate turn that I can find. If somebody can find one, let me know, please, on the simulator. I know how to do a standard rate turn of the plane, though John might disagree with that. Okay, so our desired track is 235. I'm still a little off my needle, so I'm going to do a little bit of adjusting. Okay, and you'll see that needle slowly start to come in. Okay, and then I'm going to turn on my desired track of 235 or closer to it. Okay, so we'll call that close enough for done on getting the track. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit because we've got 8.87 nautical miles to our next waypoint, which is Malv. And then we still got to go to Caney, which is on the other side of Malv on this airway. So I'm going to do that little trick of pumping up my airspeed. Okay, so 999. Let's see how fast we can get this little Cessna. Never. Okay, but you see we're still pretty close to tracking. Desired track is 234 now. So I'm going to change my heading 234. And that's just because those airways, one, this may be simulating some wind. Two, those airways, while they say they're on 235 radial, they might really be on 234.7 radial. And, it's not that precise. So as you fly farther, you may get a little off track. So that's why you fly your needle, keep your needle centered, etc. Y'all know that. I want to tell you. Okay, this is saying that we're reaching the next leg in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if there was a turn, it would have indicated, but that means we've arrived at mouth. Also here, it shows that we're on the mouth to Caney leg. I forgot about that yesterday, that shows what leg we're on. Okay, as soon as I see, let's see what this message is saying. Steep turn, airshoot. Okay, so it's telling me because I'm going so fast that I may overshoot my turn, which I will if I don't slow down. So as soon as I see Caney pop on the map, and I'm probably going to actually start slowing down anyway. A little bit. Okay, so there's my track to Hot Springs coming in. So I'm probably going to overshoot. Should have went ahead and slowed down. Don't think I want to slow down to 0. We'll do an indicated airspeed of, we'll keep it 120 for this turn. Looks like I'm going to slow down in time. Okay, so, and if I was flying this, and hadn't made all these mistakes, he would have diverted me at this point because we weren't going all the way to Hot Springs. But I'm going to go ahead and fly this all the way to Hot Springs. That way we can show the loading of the procedure. I'll give him a call for a requested approach, and then we'll load that approach and we'll fly the back course and everything using the system. Hopefully I don't make a mistake, but we'll see. Well, there's a big difference between 630 knots and 120 knots, in case you didn't know. Sure does seem to go by faster when you're in the plane and behind the plane, trying to figure stuff out. I really feel like if I would have done this before, that I wouldn't have failed yesterday. And again, spilled milk, but I hope this one helps me on my future check ride, but I also hope that it helps someone else out there save that money, save that time, and save the just all the stuff that comes with not passing a check ride. For some of y'all in looking for a career, it's much more significant than to me, who I don't have any plans going ATP or anything of that nature. So if it ever does come up, it's not going to hurt me in my career. Okay. So I don't even know where we're at on time, but ATC fell asleep and they're now going to come back and tell us climb to 4,000. Remember our clearance was expect 4,000 in 10 minutes. So they've just told us. Okay, now this should tell us a turn here in a little bit. Okay, yeah, there it goes. Right to 3, 4, 6, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then turn 3, 4, 6. So I'm going to go ahead and dump all of 3, 4, 6 in here because it may not be able to make this type of turn on this system. It looks like it might. Okay, but you see my needle is now on this leg. So my needle is looking at that. I'm still to the right of it, but I'm still turning into it. Looks like I'm going to roll out. Need to fly to intercept that needle. And remember, my desired track is a 3, 4, 6. So as soon as I get close to that, I'm going to roll back to a 3, 4, 6. Okay. Okay, so now is where I'm going to start going through my wire process. where do I go? You know, all that process for wire or get my wet. Sorry, I was looking at some. I got an email at the time I started to say that. Um, what is my weather? Check my instruments, reset my VOR head, reset heading indicator. You know, we just came off of that 230 VOR technically off of Little Rock. Well, what VOR are we now off of Hot Springs? Well, if you pull up ForeFlight and you look, if the Victor 54 airway and the Hot Springs airway that intercepts at Caney is the Victor 7-1, which is the 163 radial. So we're on the 163 radial, but that remember that's outbound course. So what is the reciprocal of 163? Well, you add 180, right? As long as you don't go over 360. And hopefully that comes out to 346. All y'all that just reach for your calculator. It actually comes out to 343, right? But again, this is our desired track. It's what the system is calculating we need on a variety of factors. And again, you're going to fly this needle. So if you start getting off, you're going to fly to the needle. Okay. So whether we get it from Hot Springs, we tune into the ASOS, we find out we can land there. Okay, we're good. We're within our minimums. We check our instruments. We set our VOR head. You can set on the outbound if you want to, since it is I just said it, the 163 radial, right? So you can set on 163, but if you set on 163 and you're following your VOR needle, you're going to get reverse sensing, right? So you might do the reciprocal, you might do the plus 180, and that way you have correct sensing on it. Okay, and that's going to fly all the way to hot. Okay, so R for radios. Well, we just said we had to tune in the correct frequency. So also, if we're switching to the Hot Springs VOR, what do we need to do? And I didn't say this about the Little Rock VOR because I didn't mention it radio-wise until just a minute ago. But remember to ident whatever radio that you are. And my son sent me a text, and I don't know what it says, so I'm covering it till it disappears. But anyway, remember to ident the radio and the and also if you use the localizer. Okay, and then the environment, or John uses a different term on wire, but basically it's how low do you go, how long do you go, and where do you go, and that's talking about missed approach procedure. So we're going to request for KHOT, and I'll just go ahead and say that it's approved, that we are going to request the RNAV GPS 05, and we're within limits and all that stuff. So how low can we go? Well, on the RNAV, we are LPV DB in this. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and put this in. So we're going to do the RNAV 05. We're approved for it. So we're going to do procedure, approach, KHOT, approach. Oh, and we're going to do it via the Hot Springs we're going to fly to the Hot Springs VOR, the hot VOR. So RNAV 05. We're not going to do vectors. We're going to do it via hot. Okay, so you can load approach and preview it, or I could have just activated approach once I had the approval. Okay, so back, map. Okay, so it's got us going to hot. It's got our procedure turn built into it. And you even see our missed approach procedure in the GPS. Now, please realize that the GPS, I don't know what the deal is, but it does not account for your altitude. So if you have not, or at least it didn't seem that it did yesterday. So whenever I was supposed to, the missed approach procedure at KSUZ was climb straight out to 1600. It was indicating that I should turn. I started turning. I was at 1400. That's technically when I busted. So I'm going to look at that again next time I'm up in the airplane and really pay attention that I may even go up visual and just run that and see what it says, what it does. Because I want to find out why it's doing that, if there's a way that I can counter that, etc. Okay, so John doesn't like us screaming at 120 coming into the approach procedure. We can't start, well, I mean, if we're cleared to descend, we can start descending if ATC clears us. But if you look at the approach procedure, we really should be at 3,400, 3,600 from the direction we're coming in until we're established on was it Urgiev or whatever. We're going to stay at 4,000 until we get on the route. And then the route, we just can't, on the back course, we can't be above 10,000, but we don't need to go below 3,000. So once we get on the back course, I'll start to send 3,000. By the way, if y'all hear me say something wrong in this, feel free to call me out on it. I'm still learning some of this. I think I'm saying everything correctly. But if you disagree with me, please point it out. Record the time on the video so I can go back and watch it and correct it if I need to. I can always dub over and put new instructions in. So I am not beyond that. I'm not proud. I'll say it that way. Too proud in that regard. Okay, so left to 234 in 10 seconds. So this is where we roll into a standard rate turn when it says now to 234. I'm just going to try to do the best I can on here. Now. And I slowed down so my turns are tighter. Did more in a standard rate. Okay, and I'm just watching this needle and just kind of bringing it in. Okay, so I'm going to call myself on the airway or on the procedure way on the back course. So I can lose down to 3,000 feet. Oh, I just pulled power, which we got to do, but let me hit the right button over here. 3,000 feet, right? So lose down to 3,000 feet. You'll start seeing that come in. You know, we're going through all our processes here again, reminding ourselves, what do we do? So, you know, I never said that while ago, the E, the environment. How long do I go? How low do I go? And I go missed how. So right now, I can only go to 3,000. That's where I am. So if I have to go missed, I'm going to climb straight out to 1,300. Then I'm going to do a right turn to 3,000 and go back to edge rev, which is our initial approach fix. So it's way out here somewhere. So, you know, the reason that I had no problem with failing yesterday, other than the fact that Jeremy's the DP and what he says goes, is that let's pretend I was at this airport and I got confused and I climbed out and I climbed to 1,100. Instead of doing a right turn, I did a left turn. So I had two errors. One, I was 200 feet below the straight climb out altitude. And then instead of turning right, I turned left. Well, in IMC conditions, I'm going to slam into the side of a mountain at this airport because that's what's on the left-hand side of this airport. So yeah, that's the reason what I did was an automatic fail, and I have no problem with it. So we're still going through our checklist at this point. You know, we're doing all those things. I wouldn't say you're getting your aircraft set up for landing at this point, but you don't need to be screaming at full, you know, throttle, even the reverse course. At least I don't think you do. I mean, I guess you technically can. You don't need to be set up for landing at this point. But we're flying out, and if you go look at this, the procedure turn is, or the holding pattern is solid. So that means we have to do this procedure turn unless ATC gives us other directions, right? So if we're just flying the published approach, then we have to do this hold. We have to do the hold, the full hold. Again, if this is what flying a plane with a autopilot in is like, sign me up. I'm going to speed this back up a little bit. ATC just called me and said, 05 Quebec. Oh, we can't speed up that much. They just called me back and they said 05 Quebec. Speed up and maintain 150 knots. But in real life, I'd say unable. But on here, we can do it. And I don't think they'd say speed up. I think they just say maintain 150 knots. Okay, so and y'all know this, but as you can see, it's showing us our teardrop entry. So we've already got our entry procedure into our hold. Oh, and by the way, I will go mist on this just to show that process, but I'll probably stop the video once I get turned back to Urjev. I'm not going to, record me flying back to it. Though it might be interesting to get before I stop the recording, to get the procedure put into it. So, okay, so it's telling us that we're going to hold it. We're going to set up the hold in a teardrop fashion. And it's telling us left to 210-0 in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, so we're going to go left 210-0 or 210, 210-0. Okay. So I'm just going to take a peek at my flight plan while we're flying this out. Okay, and it's telling us that we're going to hold. We're not going to suspend the hold. So if I'm correct, once we come back to Irjev or whatever, Irjev, the initial approach fix, it should go ahead and put us back in this holding pattern. It should give us directions for that. If not, you need to be aware of what your times are on these, what this hold is, or we need to figure out what. I think if I want to suspend the hold, I, I can press suspend, and that will just suspend the hold. So if I'm correct, which I may not be, we'll see what it does as soon as I come back around. We'll see if it sets me up on the hold. We're going to turn to 053 and 1. And again, I'm just trying to do my best job of making this replicate a standard rate turn. It probably does at a certain airspeed when you just put that airspeed in and dump it. But I'm just having to kind of guess at this point. Okay, so it doesn't look like my next leg is going to be the holding pattern. So I'm going to hit suspend and see. Okay, so when I hit suspend, looks like it suspends the. So I hit suspend. I guess that suspends the direct in and holds me in the hold, or keeps me in the hold. If I hit unsuspend, it's going direct in without a holding pattern. If I hit unsuspend, it puts me in a hold until I unsuspend it. Okay, so that's something to be aware of. Track is set, needle's a little off, so I can do a little correction here. And I'll tell you, ATC comes on board and says, 05 Quebec, you're clear for the direct in from Ezrev. So I'm going to unsuspend the hold. Or they come back in, they say, hey, 05 Quebec, are you going to need the hold, or can you do a straight in from here? Well, I'm set up. I've went through my checklist. I'm going to start slowing down because I'm arriving my initial approach fix. So not that much. Don't want to stall. Okay, so we'll come in at, we'll get it to 80 for now. Actually, I'm just going to bump it back up for a little bit, just because of time. But in real life, you'd slow down a little bit here. Start setting up your plane for descent, all that stuff. Okay, so it's telling us when we're going to reach or that we've reached the initial approach fix. So we look at our fore flight. Okay, So here I am at ESREV. I've come out of the hold, or I've finished flying the hold. Um, I am at 3,000, which is the minimum I can be at till I pass it. Um, Technically, I've passed it because I look over here and I see between the ESREV and the IJ, or the final approach fix. So I can get ready to intercept my glide slope at IRJEX. I need to intercept that at 2,300. I've slowed down to intercept, so I can descend to intercept. I'm at 3,000. I don't have a ton to lose, but I'm going to start going down to 2,300. Okay, now I wish that this would also give you um, a needle with the glide slope so you could see it. We're on an LPV, so we are going to get vertical guidance. And also for those of y'all who don't know, for the instrument check ride for the practical portion, you have to fly 2 non-precision and 1 precision. Well, a GPS approach is never considered an actual precision approach. Okay, but 05 Quebec, the ILS head is out. So how was I going to do my check ride? Well, if you go look at the ACS, it actually says that you may fly an LPV as the precision approach, as long as the decision altitude is, I think, no more than 300 above, or no more than 300 height above terrain, or height above touchdown. Sorry, HAT. So go out there and look it up, make sure I'm right. But our RNAV 02 into KSUZ is a LPV, and it does meet the limits of that height above terrain. So I can actually, in 05 Quebec, even though we don't have a ILS head in there right now, my 3 approaches are a RNAV 02 with LPV glide slope guidance, a RNAV 02 using step downs. Now it will show the LPV and I'll have the needle there for the glide slope, but I got to fly it using step downs. And then the localizer into KSUZ. Now that I failed though, I don't know. He might take me to Pine Bluff to do a VOR with a BME arc. I've done it. He may take me into Hot Springs. I don't know. I hope he does, and I hope he keeps me there at KSUZ. But John and I are going to fly plenty of these other approaches around to make sure I'm ready to go. So, and also if the ILS comes back, I'm not too worried about it. The biggest difference is just it's still vertical guidance on the needle is ident, making sure you ident, but you got to do that on the localizer anyway. So. Oh, and I also didn't mention this, but make sure that you know the difference between terminal en route and the different sensitivities in GPS units for your mock oral, or not for your mock oral, but for your oral portion of your check ride. Okay, so we're coming down to our JEX, our final approach fix. We're going to intercept the glide slope at 2,300, and then we're going to head down to we're going to head down on a glide slope because we're on LPV. We can't see the glide slope, so I'm just going to start descending. Okay, we're on. Well, thought it said we were there, but I guess we're not yet because see, we're still there. We go. So it finally switched over. So I couldn't descend until it said now, but now I can because I'm past that final approach fix. I've intercepted the glide slope. I'm following it down. Notice my needle's getting a little off, so I'm going to pull it back in. Still not 3/4 deflection, so I don't have to go missed yet. Okay, we're going to pretend winds are a little hot, so we're going to increase our landing speed a little bit. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Okay, touchdown zone elevation. It's 540. How do we go missed? Straight climb out 1,300. Turn right to climbing to 3,000 and re-intercept Erziev. Now, this system should, when we reach the final approach fix, should ask us whether we want to go missed. Okay, and it will give us instructions, but we need to have those instructions in our head because that's what happened to me yesterday. I hit the button to go missed, and indicated to me that I should be turning, but I was not at the altitude yet to turn. Okay, so we're at, I've got that reset because I want to see what this, I want to look a bit closer at what this missed approach does. If I go back and cut that out, just realize I had flown the missed approach and something kind of went weird in it. So I'm going back and looking at it again a little bit more closely. I probably will cut it out because I don't want to confuse anyone, but if it's jumping, that's what happened. Okay, so we are at IRJX down to runway 5. This is where we're flying the slope down. So, we intercepted at 2300. So now I don't have a needle to fly the glide slope. So I'm just going to do the best I can. And yeah, I clicked my altitude up 100 just because I think I was going below the glide slope, looking at stuff over here starting to turn red on me. So we'll stay at 1400 for a little bit. Well, I don't know. It'll probably be in the section I cut out a while ago. I just started dumping down to like 1100 altitude, and I got a terrain warning on the GPS. Don't really ever want to see that in real life. Okay. Go keep descending. We're gonna go missed, so doesn't really matter as long as I'm okay. So I don't know if this got cut out, but I will just say that the go miss procedures at this published chart is climb straight out to 1300 and then right turn to 3000. But if you go look at the NOTAMs, it has been changed to climb out to 1600. So make sure you're checking those NOTAMs. And then okay, so here we go. Missed approach for waypoint reached, automatic waypoint. We want to activate GPS miss approach. Okay, so this is where I messed up. I think yesterday. I think that it says you leave this in place until you hit 1300 feet. It even tells you. Now, we know by our NOTAMs we got to do 1600 feet, but at least this reminds us we've got a straight climb out on course 54 to 1300 feet. It's really 1600 feet. Okay, so I'm doing 3000 because I'm supposed to be doing a right hand turn. I'm going to pretend I'm at 1300 by now. I don't know if I am or not. Okay, so once I unsuspend that, it tells me turn 3237. So I start adjusting I'm at 3, I think I'm at 1600 feet. I don't know. I've got 3000 put in. So, and I gave it a little bit of time to climb out. 237. It's actually giving me an updated desired track based on wind, things of that nature. Now I know the localizer or the VOR missed approach is actually you go out this direction because I've flown that before. I've never flown this missed approach in real life. I'm looking at it, which one it is now. It's probably the VOR. Yeah, the VOR missed approach and the localizer. It's weird that the RNAV has you going back this direction, where both the localizer and the VOR has you go out here and do a hold out there. But we're doing the RNAV, so we got to do its missed approach procedure. Okay, and we're supposed to be at 3000 back to Urzhev. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video here in a second. There'll be some cleanup that I do. There'll be some cuts here and there where I had to reset the system because something went wonky on it, or I did something that created an issue. This helped me going through this full process, though. I do want to look before I close it. Okay, so it's got me going back to Urzhev and then a hold. Okay, and I guess I'm talking to ATC now that I'm on a path, or if I don't want to talk to them yet, I probably by this point need to tell them I've went missed. But if they're sitting there chatting with me, want to know what I want to do, I can tell them stand by. I'm flying back to the hold, and I may decide to do that hold. Okay. If I need time, but at some point I'm going to tell them, okay, I want to try this again. Whatever. I lost my needle. whatever, I deflected my needle too much and had to go missed, or whatever the reason was I went missed. Didn't see the runway, but I think I can do it this time because things are pushing out. I don't know. Or whatever, ask for vectors to another airport if you want them, whatever, to your alternate airport. But okay, so it's got my hold built in. Okay, so what do I do then? Okay, so I can actually, I think, go in here and I think I can load up another procedure. Probably should wait till the hold, but let's see what it does. I bet if I activate approach, it's going to think that I should be on that back course. And I'm not technically on the back course. I'm flying to the hold fix, right? But probably consider myself close enough to the back course now. I mean, I guess technically I shouldn't activate it. Well, I mean, I know I shouldn't activate it until I get clearance for it to try it again, right? But let's say I've talked to ATC and they say, okay, 05 Quebec, try to get it right this time. You are cleared for the RNAV 05 into Hot Springs. So, okay, so I'm going to RNAV 05 LPV. I'm going to activate the approach. Okay, well, that's not what I want. Let's see what if there we go. So I activated hot to Urgev. So this is my course reversal. And you see I'm a little bit off course. Again, I would not do that. I would tell them I went missed, but I would tell them, hey, I would not activate the approach until I'm in the hold, or at least until I'm on the other side of Urgev and done my teardrop. One, because that's what happened to me yesterday. I got behind the airplane. So this airspace is mine. I've already tied it up. There's no reason in me making stupid decisions in the air, messing with this GPS and trying to figure out things in the air. So it might have actually, when I went out here and flown the hold, it might have given me an option to redo it. If nothing else, I could be out in the hold and I could activate, I could be on the in-belt and leg. I could delete the procedure if I need to and activate the procedure again with Urgev being my starting point. Though interestingly, I don't know if the system would allow that, because if you go read the plate, you're not allowed to do a entry into this into Urgev as your initial approach fix if you're coming from the 221, 241 radials, right? So that's in this area, right? So you can't do a straight in to Urgev, I don't believe. I mean, we're on the 234 radial, right? That's what we're supposed to be on. 234 radial, or we're on the DTK of 234, and we're flying a route from the VOR. Now, never mind, we're flying a route from the runway, which is slightly off. So it's going to be a little bit, but it's in that range is what I'm saying. So technically we're in that 221, 241 range. So you can't do a straight in to Urgev. So I'm interested if I delete this. Again, just trying to time that turn. I wonder if I delete this, if it will allow me to reactivate a RNAV. I'm sure it will, because if you are, I don't know, we'll see. I mean, you could always put a direct to Urgev and then to K-hot and then activate the approach that way in the system. But again, it may not be legal to do that because the plate says procedure not authorized for arrival on hot VOR DME airway radials 221 CW 241. So by the way, if you are wondering what that turn 053 in 6 seconds, I know I said I wasn't going to do this, but I don't really have, I may go back and delete it, but I'm also learning as I'm doing this, so it's kind of fun for me too. But if you're wondering, when I read that instructions off the plate, and I'll go back and read it again. Let me get this 053 heading put in here. Okay, needle will probably be off when I roll out of that, but I'll fix it. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and look at that plate real quick, and I'll read that again. It says, procedure not authorized for arrival on hot VOR DME airway radios 221 CW 241. So what is a CW? Clockwise. So any radios from 221 clockwise to 241. So yeah. Okay, so flying the inbound. Okay, and we've already done this once. So I'm gonna just let that do its thing, but I'm gonna cut the video off here. Okay, so here we are on our flight again. That basically, remember our clearance that we received was this is midway through our flight. I just kind of reset everything. But remember, it said that 05 Quebec, you're cleared at Hot Springs Airport. Climb out on runway heading to 3000. When entering controlled airspace, turn right to 200. Intercept the Victor 54 airway to Caney, then cleared to hot and then as filed, which really, I don't know why he said as filed, but anyway, moving on. Remember, it was expect 4,000 in 10 minutes, so I'm at 4,000 now. And contact Little Rock departure at 119.5, squawk 1200. Okay, so we've been flying, and Jeremy looks over at me, and he comes over as ATC, and he says, 05 Quebec, there is a, how do you put it? Basically a broken down aircraft on the runway at Hot Springs. Runways are closed. How would you like to proceed? And I just said, I'd like to divert back to KSUZ. He said, okay, stand by. He said, 05 Quebec, turn right to 360 and intercept the Little Rock VOR radial, Little Rock 240 radial. Okay, so remember, we're currently on the 230 roughly. We're on Victor 54 airway, which is roughly the 230 radio. So how do you put this in our system when we've already got a flight plan going, we're on it, and everything of that nature? Well, we're going to go ahead and start turning to our known heading, that are our assigned heading, 360. Then I will worry about the GPS. So get established on that heading, because they've told me to turn. I need to turn 360. Now, I know I don't have a ton of time, but I know I'm on the 230 roughly, and I'm going to the 340, so I've got 10 degrees. I could look at how much distance I'm out from Little Rock, but I probably got more than 5 minutes at least to get there. So I need to get this, though. I need to get this new intercept in my GPS. Well, I can do it a couple ways. I can leave my flight plan in there. I can delete the flight plan. I can really deleting it wouldn't be a problem, but let's see if they were just vectoring us around something. Let's leave it in there and see if there's a way to add it in. Okay, or I can just fly this to intercept the radio off the VOR radio. Remember, make sure you ident that VOR. Okay, but let's go on our flight plan. We're on our 360 radio. We're at 4,000 feet. We're perfect pilot. We don't have to worry about any of that. Okay, we're on this leg. So I'm going to click on that leg, and I'm going to insert after. Oops, I didn't mean to click that. Insert after LIT, the LIT VOR. I want to insert it after the leg I'm on. Okay, because technically, even though I'm off that airway, that's the leg on the flight plan I'm on. Okay, so now I want to click on that, and I want to activate that leg, Caney to Little Rock. Okay, but I want to do it via OBS mode, because I need a line out there where 240 is. Okay, so as soon as I do that, you see this line that's drawn out there? That's my 240 radio off the Little Rock VOR. Now, you see it's telling me to fly a desired track of 240. Well, that's this direction. I don't want to go that direction, but I can still use this to intercept that airway. My needle is still going to work. It's just going to have reverse sensing. But we can fix that once we're on the radio. We can change that. We can then just go a direct to the Little Rock VOR. Oh, and the clearance was track the 240 radio back to the Little Rock VOR. and basically he was just getting me back toward KSUZ. He wanted me to intercept another radial. It wasn't taking me directly to KSUZ. He wanted me to intercept another radial that was not on a published airway, and then track it back. He was trying to ensure that I was not flying by map, which honestly I partially was, and he knew that. But this made me figure out a way. Now, how did I do it? I did it with the VOR radio and tuning it in, but I will tell you that needle was swinging, 8 dots. So 4 dots in each direction. So it was pegging out right in this area. Right now, it would start showing that it was coming in. Like I'd be within 1 dot deflection, even though I was a mile, or whatever. And then I'd try to start turning on course and it would swing back to full deflection again. And John told me that's normal for those VORs, that you just kind of have to take the middle. So I'd much rather fly this because it's precise. Now it's going to tell me when to turn, but it's going to give me an incorrect turn direction. It's probably going to say turn to 240 here in a second. So I can't do that. I just have to time this intercept, which we're not going so fast that we can't do. Okay. We can time a standard rate turn and we can intercept it. Okay. So we're going to fly the reverse of 240, right? Which is quick way to do that is subtract 2, add 2, right? So subtract 2 from the first number, add 2 to the second. So that's 60 degrees. And I was thinking I was blown through, so I went to 65, but I ended up not blowing through. I timed that right. Okay, so now I know I'm on this radial because my needle's centered. And as long as I fly heading 60, I'm going to stay within that radial for some time. Now, I can fly this and I can stay on that radial. I just have reverse sensing. I have to remember to pull the needle. That's completely fine. If you don't want to do anything extra at this point, you want to start, you just want to fly this. That's probably honestly what I do because reverse sensing doesn't bug me. But you could technically go into your flight plan. You could go into this section here. You could insert after LIT again, I believe. Oh, no, it won't let me. Okay. Yep. Okay. So it's LIT. We're already going where we've got an OBS to it. So I guess we could go a direct to Laroc VOR and then activate it. So that's going to give me this, which if I was on the radial, then I should still be on the radial, right? Okay. But notice we got this line over here because our flight plan saying we're going to go there, then we're going to go to whatever hot springs, right? So we've got all sorts of issues there. If we want to go back and make sure that we're on the radial, we can go back into OBS mode. We can put in the 060 because we know that's the inverse and it should draw the line on both sides. And now we have proper sensing. I don't know why our track is 055 when our heading set. We must have digital wind. So we'll adjust that. And now that we're on that 060 OBS mode, we have proper sensing. So we can fly to the needle. You don't have to pull it. Okay, so now this is what Jeremy did. We flew this. He was making sure that I could track this using the VOR. It wasn't pretty, but I did it within standards. He was okay with it. Now I know how to do it using the GPS. Again, I'm probably just going to set both, use the VOR as a backup in case I click something on the GPS that looks squirrely and I know that's not what it's supposed to do. I've got that VOR needle as a backup, right? So that's probably what I'm going to do. Just my personal preference. Again, make sure you've identified that. Okay, so we flew this for a little bit, and then he said, okay, came back as ATC 05 Quebec. You said you want to go back to KSU, to Saline County? Affirmative. Okay, what do you want into there? And I was like, localizer 02. I didn't actually pick it. He picked it, but ATC is not going to pick your approach for you. So I'm trying to in real life. So I'll say localizer 02. And that's what he gave me. So now what do I do? Okay. I have this flight plan in there. You see the lines taking me all over the state. If I scroll out, you see I have flight plan lines in here existing, and you can go in the flight plan and you can still see them all in there and see my flight plan is still taking me to Hot Springs. Okay, so well, we can go in here and we can remove hot and K hot. Okay, back. We still have our OBS in there. Okay, so we want to go to KSUZ. We are cleared to KSUZ via the localizer 02 direct to RIMBY. That's basically what he said. Okay, so I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, okay, I am direct to RIMBY, but I'm really going to KSUZ. See, this is where you have to practice this. Okay, so I'm really going to KSUZ. So I had to go to, because that OBS has got me locked in there, I had to go to flight plan, and now I'm going to enter in KSUZ in my flight plan. Okay, so I've got KSUZ in there. And now I can go back, and now I can go to procedure. I guess I probably could have just went to procedure first. Go back and try that. Let me delete. I'm pretty sure I can. Let me delete this KSUZ. Remove. Okay, so I'm back to where I was. So now I'm still flying. I haven't busted Charlie yet, but I need to get this done pretty quick. I go in here and I'm going to go back. I'm going to activate a procedure. I'm going to do a provoke approach into KSUZ. Okay, I'm localizer 02 and I'm cleared direct to RIMBY. I'm going to activate approach because I've been cleared for it. Okay, so back map. Okay, and it's giving me a turn. Desired track 1. I'm cleared to RIMBY, so I need to get on my turn to heading 175. Desired track 175. I can zoom back in, even though we're not supposed to fly by the map. You can see what it's got me doing. Okay, so we've got our heading on there. We'll get our needle. We'll get its line. We'll get it centered back up here. Okay, I need to fly to my needle, so I'm gonna do a what is that? A 7-degree intercept. I'm sure John's out there like, why'd you do a 7-degree? Why not a 10-degree or something of that nature? I don't know. I just chose it. I'm within my corridor, my 2 mile to either side corridor, my pathway. So I'm just getting back on course with small changes. Okay, so I'm coming in. I need to pull up my plate. I need to do wire. This is where I messed up yesterday. This is really where I actually messed up yesterday. I pulled up my flight plan, my plate. I put it on my map. I had everything on there. I got started with my wire, and then I got distracted. Okay, my fault. Okay, so we're coming in. Let me get my needles almost centered, so I'm going to get back on my desired track. The approach plate for KSUZ's localizer 02, ILS localizer 02, if you notice, the hold pattern is bolt. And I was just making sure I was correct. I was Googling that. So unless ATC cleared me for a straight in final, the no PT. So if it's in bold, we must fly the pattern to reverse the course, the hold pattern. Now that is if they don't tell you don't have to. So I was asking yesterday, I just asked ATC Jeremy, and I was like, okay, do you want me to fly the full hold? And he said no. But I know I have to teardrop on the hold side to safely make this turn at least. Okay, but the hold, if you look at the chart, the hold is bold, the whole circle. So my understanding and what I've been instructed is that if it's bolded and you are assigned to fly the approach as published or the published approach, that you're not only going to do this teardrop, but that you have to fly at least one full hold. So you have to, teardrop in and then go around one more time. Okay. But I asked Jeremy, I said, do you want me to fly the hold? And honestly, that's probably what I would just go back and ask ATC. So we're going to turn 161 in 6 seconds. But if I was assigned to fly the hold, I would probably just go back and ask, do you want me to fly the full holding pattern? I would say something like, okay, I'm going to teardrop back into Rimby after I cross it. Do you want me to fly the full holding pattern? Okay. By the way, I am within limits. My altitude is 4,000. Probably should have been losing because I could technically have lost down to 3,300. But this might be a reason I choose to fly the full hold if I don't feel like I can lose this altitude. But I'm going to start losing at this point, and then we'll make a decision. Okay, so I'm going to lose down to, I can technically, now that I'm on the published approach, I can technically lose down to 2,800. I can't be higher than 4,800 out here. Okay. Since I'm on the published approach, I'm going to go ahead and lose down to 2,900. I'll give myself a 100-foot buffer. Okay, right to 019 and now. Okay, once I pass Rimby, I want to see if it gives me the option to do the hold. Oh, again, this is where we have that option to suspend, to do the hold, suspend the approach, or if I'm clear for the straight in at this point, I'm not going to suspend it. But let's say I need to lose altitude, or I need time, or ATC tells me I need to do the hold. I click unsuspend there, and it gives me the hold. Okay, so I'm off my path, so I'm going to change my heading a little bit to re-intercept it. And okay, ATC needs me to go in and land, so I'm gonna unsuspend the direct end, or I'm gonna go direct end, whatever you want to look at it. For the hold. Okay, so we're Rimby to axle now. We're on that leg. So that means we're past Rimby. So past Rimby, if we were doing the ILS, we need to intercept at 2,000. We're doing the localizer, so we have to treat these as step downs. So 2,000. And our next step down between axle and coax, which is the leg we're on, is down to 1060. Well, I can't put 1060 in, so we'll do 1100. Our circling minimums for our airplane is 940, so it's not much lower than what we'll be at, at coax. So, but we'll fly 1100 to coax. Okay, so we're at coax in 7 seconds. Okay, so we are at coax, so we can descend down to, if we're not planning to circle, we're on the localizer, so we can descend down to 700. Okay, we're arriving at the waypoint. Okay, we've hit the decision point, and we're going to activate the GPS to miss approach. Okay, so this is what I did yesterday, and this is wrong instructions. Okay, so again, the GPS is not perfect, but it's telling me to climb out to 1,000, and then for the next part, till the next part of it. Okay, but when you look on the plate, it is climb out to 1,600. So I have to go by the plate. Can't 100% trust the GPS. Okay, so let's pretend we're at 1,600. We have to continue climbing to 2,300 in a left-hand turn. So we're going to say we've reached 1,600. We're going to unsuspend, and it tells us to turn to 254, which is going to be about what the we're supposed to intercept the 250 LIT radial. So it's giving us a method to do that and giving us a heading 254. Okay, so we are on our 254, but you'll notice now we're off of our needle. We need to get back on our needle because we're on that leg now. So we're gonna fly, I'm gonna intercept it. Okay, so we're gonna go out here and fly this hold at Biggin. I think we've all done that multiple times. We'll get our new clearance. We'll probably get vectors directly back to Rimby for another approach. So I'm going to stop the video here, call that done. If you have requests, if you can't figure something out on this and you want me to try to figure it out, please send it to me. Or if you figure out something neat and you say, hey, I figured this out, can you? I would love a challenge. I'd love things I haven't expected, haven't experienced yet, because that's going to make me a better pilot when I'm in the plane. And if things get thrown at me, I'm not expecting, then hopefully I've seen it. Hopefully I've had enough experience with this GPS to be able to handle it. So appreciate y'all watching. Hopefully y'all found this useful.